Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is MTG Ghoul Dude. And do you like zombies? Do you just want to crack bracket 2 wide open so hard that even bracket 3 is shaking in its boots? Well, I got a deck tech for you. Out of the recently, as of the time of this recording, not too long ago, recording of this video, we had not Amonkhet, we had Aether Drift. Uh, and it brought us some bangers. And of course, it wouldn't be a MTG Ghoul Dude deck tech if it didn't have zombies. So we are going to bust this commander wide open. Temmet Naktamun's Will. Or as you will see in the deck list, it's something totally different. I will have the deck list down in the description below. It is a Archidekt deck list if you want to look at that and check it out. But let's go on ahead and get into this video. So for 2, a white, a blue, and a black, this is a legendary zombie wizard that is a 4/4 with the vigilance and menace, which it does a whole lot of stuff, but most of the time you probably will forget that this has vigilance and menace. Whenever you attack, you draw a card, then you discard a card. Whenever you draw a card, zombies you control get +1/+1 until end of turn. Now, some of you may not notice, but it says whenever you draw a card. If you're like me and you didn't realize it, but you draw a card at the beginning of your turn. So if you already have a board full of zombies, a board full of 2/2s, now they're 3/3s. Temmet is a 5/5 then. So it counts every draw. So we want to try and take advantage of that as much as we can, along with building a wide board and being resilient enough to keep pushing back. But in order to get those, to cast those spells, we got to have ramp. So let's go on ahead and dig into the ramp package. Starting off with Dark Ritual, the Wayfarer's Bauble. Of course, it's got to be a Soul Ring. Oh no. I did order a Arcane Signet from the Commander decks just for this deck. The Felwar Stone, the Mind Stone, the Talisman of Progress, because we want to make sure that we're casting all of our spells. So we got to have the Talisman cycle. Dominance and Hierarchy. Along with a few signets in the colors, Orzhov, Dimir, and Azorius. So we got all this ramp. What spells are we going to cast? Let's start out with the main creature package. That's going to have some utility along with it. Champion of the Perished is going to get bigger as the more zombies we play. Crypt Breaker is going to help discard and draw cards, which can be very handy on both aspects, and you'll figure out why later on. Dreadwander is a good discard fodder. It is also good to just play later on if you're getting light-handed. Wizened Mentor is a great pickup if you're looking to build this deck or just build, pick up this deck to upgrade, or you're looking to build your own. Because it does trigger off of activated abilities of permanence if they weren't mana abilities. So, you want to tap that, Staff of Domination, draw a card. Guess what? Now you get a 1/1. Blade Stitch Scribe will help us bump our zombies up. And we do have a couple lords in the deck. Corpse Knight is going to help us drain our opponents, get us a little bit more ahead of the game. So her Glorious Pass, if we can finally get up to that max speed, which we should, if we're able to, we can start making more zombies. Death Baron is going to buff our zombies a little bit and give us a little bit of evasion. Diagraph Colossus, one of my favorite cards, is going to help us flood the board a little bit if we can just chain zombie spells together. Diagraph Captain is another one of those lords, but it's also a drain effect if we do suffer from a board wipe. Now we're going to get into the more utility type creatures, especially when it comes to this deck, because it is a card draw theme. We definitely want to make sure we're drawing cards, so we do need the Undead Augur, Morbid Opportunist, Corpse Augur is a actually really good card in this deck because, you know, if you just so happen to have dumped your whole library into your graveyard, now you can draw a bunch more. Prophet of the Scarab is a great include because it lets you, it picks for you in the best possible way. So if you just so happen to have more zombies in your graveyard, but you don't have any on the battlefield, it's going to choose that one for you. And of course, we wouldn't be playing this deck if we didn't have access to Verena the Lich Queen. Verena is what just breaks this deck because if you can swing, draw, discard along with other things, it gets pretty wild. And we do have the ability to keep all of our zombies up to block as well, so it's always a great advantage, especially if we can, you know, kill off a creature that then becomes another token copy of it. So, and that's actually can be important too later on. We do have a creature tutor, I guess you can call it, in the deck. It is a corpse harvester. This will let us cherry pick whatever zombie we need and grab a swamp. But we do have to sack a creature, and that can help us later on. Noxious Ghoul is just flat out removal. It could be a board clearer. Accursed Marauder. Oh, and a thing to note, if you have somebody else playing zombies, you are now best friends if that Noxious Ghoul is on the battlefield, because y'all are just going to end up 1v1ing each other pretty much. And now we get into more of the utility packages of the deck, of the main theme of the deck, before we get into the card draw aspects. Remember how I said something about discard? Well, Crypt Caller Chariot is going to be your best friend. This is a great sub out for a Bone Miser and a Waste Not if you do not have those. This is a amazing pickup for this deck if you feel like you're just not going to be able to keep all of your cards in your hands. If you noticed, I did not put anything that said you have no maximum hand size. You have unlimited hand size in the deck because I want to be able to discard so I can find a way to cycle through and maybe get those cards back and, trigger to get some more zombies. Liliana Dreadhorde General is going to do double the abilities because it makes zombies, it sacks zombies. You can, wipe your opponent's boards pretty much if she gets left alone enough, and she draws cards. Ghoulish Procession is going to help us keep that board state alive, especially in the early games. Even if we don't have a zombie, if we use a targeted spell, guess what? Now we have a 1/1. Now we have a 2/2. And why not make another 2/2 along with that, along with the Renewed Solidarity? This is a brand new enchantment out of the Aether Drift Commander decks from the Eternal Might deck. And it's kind of like an Anthem effect, but it's also a token generator effect all in one. So I love the art on this card. It's really cool. And I feel like this would be awesome, especially when paired with a card like Army of the Damned. Because why wouldn't you want 26 2/2 taps zombie creature tokens? Just saying. That's a board wipe. But enough of the meat of the deck. Let's get into the vegetables, shall we? We got to have more consistent card draw. We're going to need a Phyrexian Altar. Yes, it does bite us, but we're going to be hopefully biting back harder to our opponents. Brainstorm is a quick 3. And I mean, you can pick and choose what you want. Faithful Mending is really good because you get to do it twice. And there is some life gain. Painful Truths, we are a 3-color deck. So I cannot tell you enough how good this can be in 3+ color decks, or just 3 color decks in general. Any color that runs black and 2 other colors should always run this. Frantic Search, draw 2, discard 2, untap 3 lands. Great card. Distant Melody. This could be a massive card draw spell and a massive pump spell if you have enough creatures on the battlefield. This is something to be wary of. Then we do have the lovely, always lovely Siphon Mind, which depending on how big your commander game is or get, the bigger the games, the better this gets. I mean, if you pay 4 mana to draw 4 cards, you just can't beat that. And now we get into the mass card draw spells. This is the spells that, as we're right about to close the game out, we really need to give something to give that extra push while we already have a huge hand. And of course, we want to play a Tolarian Winds. You discard your hand at instant speed, and then you draw that many cards. So if, let's say, if you're at 20 cards in hand, but you got 40 cards left in your library, all right, discard it. You now have 19 cards in your hand. You draw 19, and you give all of your creatures plus 19, plus 19. That is just terrifying. Along with a Pull from Tomorrow. And all of these are mostly instant speed, just in case you need to pump your board to keep yourself alive. Blue Sun Zenith, of course, a great include for the deck. Draw X cards, shuffle it back into your library. Always amazing. Keep Watch is going to draw a card for each attacking creature. This can be done on your turn, your opponent's turn, the guy across the street's turn. Just as long as you benefit from it, make sure that you can just take full advantage of it. Oh, well, they're swinging 31 that's not at you. That sounds like a good time to draw 30 cards. And of course, we had to have the ever faithful Windfall. So if you're stuck with a bad hand, your opponents can now get stuck with a bad hand too, while you're getting to draw more cards. We talked about card draw. We talked about the meat and the fun stuff of the deck. Let's talk about some more veggies. Let's talk about the removal or the interaction aspect of the deck. We're going kind of heavy because we do have a lot of card draw, but we do want to be selective about the type of interaction we use. We're going to be using Paths, Swords to Plowshares, an Offer They Can't Refuse. Disenchant is just a great card. For 2 mana, you can't beat that type of value. Arcane Denial is going to counter a spell along with Counterspell. Deep Spark is going to get rid of that pesky 4 mana up permanent. If you're playing in bigger games, if at bracket 2, or maybe you're knocking above at bracket 3, this definitely will take care of some problems. Dovin's Veto, well, you just ain't got nothing to say about it. Stroke of Midnight is a great, just non-land land destruction if you need it. You know. Yep. Just a all-around good card. Anguished Unmaking is going to be an permanent exile, so, and you lose 3 life, but, you know, it is what it is. Blot Out the Sky. So, this is really good if you say, well, we're just going to blow the board up and we're just going to make a bunch of tokens. Yep. Then you can, if you have that Renewed Solidarity, let's say you made, I don't know, 12 tokens. Now you got 24. Really good. And finally, the last 2 removal spells is another 2 board wipes. Toxic Deluge is amazing, especially if you either are not, you can get tall enough. If you can get tall enough, Toxic Deluge does not affect you. This deck is meant to go tall with even a few dudes. It can go tall and make somebody really regret their decisions. So Toxic Deluge is in there strictly to make sure that they cannot be as big as you are. But in the cases that you don't have any card draw, Expel the Interlopers is there to make sure that nobody is bigger than you and that you can then get through. This is the spell you use before you drop that huge draw spell and then take everybody else out. And now we finally get to the non-basic lands parts. You guys know very well that I use proxies, and I will always use proxies as long as I have cards that I like to actually keep in good shape in case I want to actually play like modern or something. So without further ado, let's go on ahead and get into this land base, starting off with the Flooded Strand, the Polluted Delta, the Marsh Flats, the lovely Scrubland, the ever gorgeous Underground Sea, and the beautiful Tundra, along with a Godless Shrine, Watery Grave, Hollowed Fountain. Rafine's Tower is a good include, especially if you need to just go on ahead and cycle it real quick. You can draw a card real quick and, just be done with the land for the turn. Now we're getting to our more just useful lands, your basic, what would come in a deck. What you would need utility wise. Command Tower, Cephalid Coliseum would be a great utility land because it does draw 3. Demolition Field for a little bit of targeted land destruction. Volatile Fault for another little bit. Field of the Dead is good in this deck because we do have a quintessential amount of different type of lands. So hopefully we're able to get those lands to trigger field to make zombies. Silent Clearing is a utility land to make black or white, or you can draw a card. And finally, we have the Unholy Grotto that's going to, say we do need to get a zombie out of the graveyard. Guess what? We have a way. Well, I did not stack the deck full of reanimation, but if reanimation is more your thing, definitely give that a shot. But I did throw in some basics from the Aether Drift set. But that is going to be it. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Is this the kind of build you like? What would you do to make it a bracket up or a bracket down? Or maybe even just, bracket to include you would use to curve the deck up a little bit, speed it up, make it feel good. But as I said, that's going to be it, and I will see you guys next time in the graveyard.